Hey, good now. Oh, not online. Good now, revolutionaries. All my friends, how are you today? It's Wednesday morning, day 3 of our Web3 101 new format week on the Rise Up Morning Show. I'm so glad for it. It's been really nice to slow down for a minute and just breathe as we talk about stuff. We had a great conversation on Monday, laying the table. We had a great conversation yesterday with a lot of questions. Everybody has such great questions when it comes to this blockchain stuff, and that's exactly what we're here for. My name is Evan. I'll be joined shortly by my colleague Alex, and if you've never seen us before and you're curious about cryptocurrency, say that 5 times fast, then this is the place for you. You might scroll through TikTok and see people talking about Bitcoin or Dogecoin or something else, and usually they're telling you matter and it's terrible for the world, but we are here to give you a better story. We work in blockchain, and we are both skeptical and curious about what this technology can be. We're not too technical. We're not going to try and sell you anything. And this is the place where there's no such thing as a dumb question. So we're going to slow things down and continue to unpack it for you as we continue to explore Web3 101 today. Alex and I were talking just a couple minutes ago about the kind of conversation we want to have. And as everyone filters in, we'll continue to have that. But first, I got to say hi to my brother. How you doing, Alex?
What's up, dude? How's it going? Feeling good? Ready to
Oh,
go?
I'm ready to go. You see, somebody came in the comments just now and asked us, could they buy us some coffee? And what a sweet thing to say. We've got coffee already. But if you want to buy a Rise Up Morning Show coffee mug, then you'll be giving
That
yourself
would
a
be good.
gift and supporting us. And you can do that at the link in my profile. That would be awesome. I always say we're not going to try and sell you anything except maybe a coffee cup.
Except a
So,
mug.
uh, so that's a good pitch for the mug. If you're watching on TikTok or you're watching on YouTube, this is the official Rise Up Morning Show mug with a little glare from my ring light. Thank you very much. And you too can drink your coffee from a cool cup designed by our good friend, the artist Kaio Madao. Uh, it's in our profiles, or at least it's in my profile. It's at conversationswithEvan.com. You can get it there too. TikTok Shop has a special on it, but we've had a lot of trouble with people ordering it there. And that's the only commercial I'm going to give you right now because as of yet, this show remains unsullied by sponsorship. If you would like to sponsor the show, if you have a product or service as an audience member you would like us to approach as a sponsor to bring you the benefit of them, let us know. That's on our list on the horizon of this show. Before we get into the topic today, let me just remind you we're here every day, Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. UTC. And you can catch up with us in the Discord at discord.gg/the many. Discord.gg/the many. It's always going to be free. It's the place where we go to talk about this stuff when the show is over. If you have a question we don't get to, that's the place to ask it. And as we sit down for the show, I want to remind you to be listening for the secret word. We have your very own POAP NFT that we will be giving away. If you put the secret words together to form the secret phrase, you can redeem an exclusive non-fungible token featuring this awesome art that Alex did the other day. Check that out. This is the Rise Up Zombie, baby. If you don't know what the secret word for yesterday's show is or Monday's show, that's okay. Just ask in the chat and somebody I am sure will help you out. Or keep it going in the Discord. It's a no rules kind of contest. We'll open the draw on the draw. We'll open the channel on Thursday. I just got the letter from POAP that our drop is approved. And we can talk more about that later, of course. But with all the housekeeping out of the way, Alex, man, will you elaborate more on your thoughts that you sent me via text? We're
Yep.
talking about day 3 for anybody who wants to know the inside baseball. After our big conversation yesterday, we felt like it was so great to have so much audience interaction. But also, if you're one of our folks who are catching up, couldn't attend, watching on YouTube, you can't see the chat. We want to make sure that you also get the full through line of every topic we're talking about. Um, so we were just trying to figure out how to do that. What are you thinking you want to do today? Elaborate a little more for me, and I'm sure it's great, but I just want to be on your boat.
So I'm just thinking to cut it up so that we have the piece that is easier to watch and digest and learn from for someone watching this after the fact. We start with the information and then stockpile questions. So if you have questions, if you could save them until we finish the first little bit, and we'll try to keep it brief. We're not going to do a huge amount of new stuff every single day. We have a few things we wanted to go through, and then after that, we will go through questions. And some of this will kind of incorporate some questions we saw from yesterday, and then we'll have plenty of time for kind of Q&A stuff after this portion.
That sounds great. That sounds absolutely great. Do we have any news headlines for the day that we need to touch before we get into the topic at hand?
You know what's funny? I was organizing notes and everything, and I totally forgot to check. So let's look together and just see if anything happened.
Okay.
That was noteworthy.
This could turn into one of those reaction videos where something crazy has happened and we both just give our totally candid, wild reactions.
Right. Well, no, in a surprise.
Did you see the first headline on Crypto Panic?
Can we all what, the Solana one? Yeah.
Can we all stop pretending Solana is in beta?
Yeah, so in true fashion there, pretty much every trending headline on Crypto Panic this morning is about Solana and their outage yesterday. Network goes down, block production halts, yada, yada, yada. You know what? I'm going to have to go with what Max said, though, in his analysis of the event from yesterday. I don't think anyone gives a shit. This isn't news, If you have to say goes out again or for the first time this year, it's obviously a semi-regular occurrence.
Right.
And I don't think anybody cares. Personally, I don't care anymore. I don't care.
No, and I saw a video yesterday explaining that even while the network was down, people were still able to use their public and private keys to make transactions. There were still transactions processing. And the architecture of that network, people have accepted it. There are so many centralized services on that network that if they go down, nobody is like, what happened? That they know that went down. They almost have accepted it. And that just goes to show you, if you're building a product or service and you set an expectation for people and it becomes a norm, then you can get away with a lot of stuff, If there's traffic on the highway in Los Angeles all the time, every day, people just come to expect it. But that's part of the reason that we're here too,
I mean, the very first time Solana went down, I remember thinking like, "This is the end," but that was some years ago now.
Yeah.
And since then we've grown to just accept the fact that this is part of the ops normal standard procedure for Solana. Every couple months, it goes down for a few hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So no, I'm not seeing. I have to dig a little bit deeper and see if there's, because sometimes the important stuff doesn't make it to the trending page, so you kind of got to dig. But if you're digging through just like the raw feed on Crypto Panic, you have a habit of seeing some nonsense.
There is one article here, but it touches on a story I saw a little about yesterday. There was some activity on Capitol Hill in the United States. Members of the U.S. Congress have sent a letter to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen calling for clarity on cryptocurrency regulation and the application of the Howey test. Patrick McHenry, Glenn Thompson, a few other Congress people are questioning the SEC's approach to classifying digital assets. And this is coming at a great time. If you've been watching the show for a minute, you know that we've walked everyone through the BTC ETF approvals. And the regulation right now, as it stands, that we've gotten, we do have some regulation. We do have the Howey test, but the goalposts have been moved a lot. Innovation has been stifled. And I would argue that the regulation we do have actually makes it easier for people to do like the speculation and casino stuff, and often makes it harder for people to do I would like to build a product or service or a piece of infrastructure or the future internet kind of stuff. This kind of thing affects a billion people, and this thing will affect almost everyone on Earth. So I think this is very timely, and I'm interested and curious to see if this could be a plot twist for Gary Gensler, that regime at the SEC. what'll happen. I don't have any more as far as like what we're doing. They're just waiting for her response, but
Yep.
they're moving the needle on it.
Waiting for a response from the government is
They set a deadline of February 20th for her to respond.
and as we know,
I don't know if that's just like a show thing, like that they say for fun, but
yeah.
you know.
Think about how many deadlines the SEC had. It don't mean so.
Yeah, you're right about that. You're right about that.
Anyway,
So we talked a little yesterday and the day before about this future of the internet to really lay a foundation to understand cryptocurrency for what it truly is, blockchain for what it truly is. And we unpacked some examples and answered some questions yesterday. Alex, you texted me and you said getting into the meat of like, why is it? What did you just say? Why is everyone so juicy for this stuff?
yes.
What a great way to say it. What do you mean by that? And you want to just jump right into it? We can unpack it together.
For sure. Yeah. So basically, excuse me, geez. All I mean is that we both know, and we have talked about, extensively, that crypto is one piece of the blockchain ecosystem. Personally, I don't even find it to be the most interesting. I honestly think it's the worst piece. But it is a piece, and it just so happens to be the piece that most people are curious about. It's the first piece that people are typically introduced to. And based on a couple of the questions we got yesterday, it's clear that there's still a little bit of maybe misconception around exactly what it is or how different cryptocurrencies are different from each other. We typically put them all kind of in the same basket, and depending on who's talking to you, there are two, I would say, predominant baskets of, general bad cryptocurrency explanation. The first one is just that this is stock market 2.0, where all it is that each of these tokens is a way to invest in whatever the project is, and you're just hoping that they go up. That's what they are. They're all investment vehicles. To be honest, even though I don't necessarily agree with that, I think that's a better description than the second, which is just that these are all kind of the same type of tool, and that at some point, the one that wins is going to be the new national global reserve currency. The one that we all load up onto blockchain debit cards and go to the grocery store and gas station with. When in actuality, almost none of them are really meant to be used that way. And I would say the vast majority of them probably shouldn't exist. I think, like Daniel always says, if someone asks you about a crypto that you've never heard of, you can say that it's a scam, and you'll bat about 90% right there just by saying that. And that means, never having any clue what it is, the one that they're asking about. And, by that, all I'm really referring to is that if we actually, here, I'll get you a number from CoinGecko right now. Let's see what they have the total count as.
Good idea.
As of right this second, CoinGecko has the total number of cryptocurrencies at 12,629. The overall crypto market cap is currently $1.73 trillion. And Evan, fun fact, take a guess without looking.
Okay.
How many different exchanges do you think exist? Because this number is astonishing.
I was going to say hundreds, but now you're making me think it's at least 1,000.
It is just about 1,000. It's 931.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that just that threw me for a loop there. But anyway, even if we 12,629 cryptocurrencies, of those, perhaps, I don't know, if I had to take a guess, maybe 100 of them are in any way, shape, or form relevant, useful, important, necessary. And I'm probably being a little bit generous. Basically, the way that crypto has worked for the past couple years. And I'm going to give you two pieces. The first is kind of just like a general overview of how the space, the cryptocurrency space specifically, has been presented. And then we'll kind of get into just a little bit of the technicals, like what the hell is a cryptocurrency anyway. So generally, like I said, these are presented as a whole bunch of different investments. And that's really it. That you make an account on one of these exchanges, whether you're using a big centralized one like Coinbase or Binance or Kraken or something like that, or you're using a decentralized exchange, the biggest of which is called Uniswap. And there are a number of others depending on which blockchain you're using, something we'll get to later. And you're purchasing these things and you're holding on to these things and you're hoping that they become more valuable so that you can sell them to somebody else. Essentially, day trading stocks is the way that most people look at these things. The reasoning then behind why you would want to invest in one of these is typically, which one has the biggest case for mass adoption? Which one has the best use case? You hear the word utility or use case a lot. Just quite simply, what is its purpose? So, a couple examples. If we just look at the top 50 projects here, I'll just pick a random one. Sure. Okay, so you've got the layer ones, which is a term tuck in the back of your head we'll get to. Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, Avalanche, Tron, Polkadot, layer 2. The idea here is that these are all like native currencies that support a particular network. They are supposed to be what you'll hear referred to as gas. Then there's a whole bunch of other ones that do very specific things. Chainlink is probably the most relevant example of a specific use case. That is known as an Oracle project. The whole point of that project is to help other projects get information from the big world and put it onto a blockchain, or vice versa. So anyway, as you're scrolling through this giant list, even just in the top 100 projects by market cap, there are some crazy looking. I'm looking. There's a few I've never heard of in here, and these kind of change on a regular basis. Some pump, some dump. It's hard to say who, what, where, when, why, and these big price movements are going to happen. But because of this volatility in the prices, people can make quite a bit of money by trading these things. And typically that's how it's presented to you, that the upside is way higher than in the traditional stock market, because it is not uncommon at all in the crypto space to have a daily swing of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, even higher percent in the price of something. So there is, of course, the possibility that you purchase something at 8 a.m. in the morning and by 10 a.m. it's up 50%. That is not that weird. However, the flip side is that it's also not that weird to purchase something at 8 a.m. and by 10 a.m. have it be down by 50%. And the thing here is that this is kind of like the Wild West of investing. There's like very little oversight. There's very little required transparency on any of these things. It's extremely easy to list a cryptocurrency on a decentralized exchange. That's kind of in the nature of the exchange being decentralized. If Evan and I wanted to, and we had probably someone to help us, we'd have to phone a friend. But by the end of this show, we could probably create a cryptocurrency, list it on Uniswap, and begin hyping it up to anyone who would listen. And depending on the size of the platform of the person who's interested in advertising it, you could get some pretty significant attention to something. And that's generally where the casino idea comes from. It is incredibly easy to make one. So the first trap that I would like you to learn about and not fall victim to is that this stuff is really hard and really complicated. And if a cryptocurrency has been set up, that some like big operation is behind it. You can make your own from your phone incredibly quickly. It is not hard. There are tons of no-code solutions that you can basically just download and start and do the whole thing from a mobile device with no technical knowledge beforehand whatsoever. You can list this thing on a decentralized exchange, and people can start buying it. One of our acquaintances a couple years ago, to prove a point, created one called Scam. I think it was super cool automatic money or something like that is what he called it, or Scam for short. And he built this thing, and he made a commercial for it, and he put it up there, and within a week, it was doing over 500,000 to $1 million in volume, and the thing peaked at like $6 or $7 million total market cap.
Millions of dollars of people's money
Millions.
in a token he, like all of them, just whipped up.
Yeah, just created. Took him about 20-30 minutes to make. I honestly don't know what he ended up doing with it. I know that it's pretty much shut down at this point, and he, reversed a bunch of trades and just, sent everything back to whoever it was that did it or something like that. But I mean, he definitely made some money from doing it, I'm assuming.
I think he did.
So that's kind of the first thing that unfortunately lots of people, I think, see when they look at the crypto space. If you were to ask, just sort of the average person on the street what they thought about crypto or, anything like that, if they've heard of it, they've probably just heard of the casino game side, which makes sense because it's the most widely talked about side. It's the sexiest part of the industry, right? Because of the potential to make large amounts of money extremely quickly with very little input. However, the piece that is rarely talked about is for every one of those people who makes a lot, there's 100 who lose quite a bit. Especially just given the fact that most people who build these kind of mediocre, crappy projects know exactly the sort of buzzy language to use to make it seem really good. And then, on the backside, at the end of the day, it's a whole bunch of people starting, fintech companies essentially with no experience, no cybersecurity training, no code audits, just sort of throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah. And on one hand, it is wonderful that people have the tools. This is the whole point, to give people the tools to start creating things in this new medium. Alan Kay observed that the printing press wasn't about copying a bunch of handmade Bibles. It was about sharing ideas that otherwise nobody would experience. And it's not uncommon when you see new technology for two things to happen. The first thing is that people use a new technology to do something that they already do, but now they can do it faster or easier or at more quality, or they do something new that they just couldn't do before. Early on in the development of a new technology, the first category tends to be more popular. And my guy Chris Dixon calls this scaleomorphic. When they first invented the film camera, they would film plays. There were movies, but all they would do is like sit a video camera in the back of an auditorium where a play was happening. It would be like one take. It was literally years before somebody invented the close-up, where they thought, oh, I'm going to film his face at this part, or I'm going to move the camera, or I'm going to show you something here and then something here. Those kind of things native to the medium of film that are totally different than anything you could do with a book or a painting. It took a while for them to emerge. And the frustration that I have, that I share with Alex, is not only that we're so illiterate about this, but that it's moving so quickly. And now that we're more connected than ever, and we can talk to each other around the world, you would think we'd be better at telling this story. But we've encountered a lot of frustration. Most people are building scaleomorphic things, and the regulators are making it easier for those people to launch those tokens quickly. I'm not saying, what our pal Kinky Bedbugs did was like wrong or anything. I think it's great that he innovated that way. But the regulators are making it so the only way you can access tokens and learn about this new technology is if you go and buy one that is speculative. But if you want to, tokenize a house, if you want to put your marriage on the blockchain. I don't know. All these things that would be interesting native uses for tokens, which we can get into. Those are much more highly regulated and much less well understood. Yet they will affect a lot more people than the dollars and cents investing will. Not everybody cares about becoming a super rich person and owning a mega yacht someday. Everybody needs to have a place to sleep tonight and buy food from the grocery store and be in charge of what's theirs. Claim their ideas, communicate with other people, and those are needs that tokens can address. I think too that's one of the places I wanted to continue to take the conversation, Alex, is as we talk about like why are people so juicy for this stuff. I also want to emphasize what it can be beyond that, because I always get that flavor when we talk about this. What else can crypto be? That there's this hurdle of like safety. There's this hurdle of what is it? And so I thought maybe we could talk a little more about what physically it is, and just maybe say some things again about like it's software. It doesn't
Well,
physically exist, and so on and so forth. What do you think? And where are you? I don't want to waylay you because it sounds like you might have a narrative arc.
so I think this is a good opportunity to tie in one or two of the things that we heard from people yesterday. One of them is a particularly relevant comment, which is just before we can get to the point where people can enjoy, all of the different things that you can do with blockchain technology, the user experience of the thing needs to get better, because quite honestly, it's atrocious right now. What I mean by that is that in the general grand scheme of things, if you sat down and you were like, okay, it's day one, I am interested in this, I would like to learn something about it, and I'm a very hands-on kind of person, so the way that I need to learn about it is by messing with it in some capacity. I don't really want to buy a shitcoin or make an account on some exchange and connect my bank account right now.
Yeah.
Is there anything else I can do? Yes, there's a ton of stuff you can do, but it's really hard to get there. Applications that people have built that let you do these kinds of things, like paint something, draw something, and mint it as an NFT, or create a smart contract to do something, or learn about, I don't know, the coding languages that are used, whatever. There's not really anything to do except do one, a ton of reading, or two, become a developer, to be honest. And lots of these applications just have pretty bad user experiences, which is right now to be expected. I think this industry is in its infancy. And if you'll recall the beginning of the internet, when anything and everything that could ever, be vaguely conceptualized as a use of the internet was being pitched, this is very much the same stage of evolution in this industry. And all of these crappy, useless, whatever projects, tokens, cryptocurrencies, casino games, whatever, they all need to exist. They serve a purpose, which is to slowly, maybe too slowly, move the industry forward. But at some point, they're going to disappear and people will just get over it. Because how many different things do you really need to gamble on? At some point, someone will put an actual casino in the thing, and it'll be like way easier to trade in and out of these things. And if you want to do that, you're going to know you're gambling. You're going to go to a place to gamble on these things, and you're going to have fun, or you're not. You're either into gambling or you're not.
Yeah.
And take it from there. But we're just right now just starting to see the first apps kind of come out, like for wallets or for games or
social.
You name it, or social media that use blockchain that are not just really hard to use, that don't require you to go through an 85-step process to create the account, remember some giant password that if you forget, you're screwed, all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we're getting there, but, right now is a great time to start paying attention because, as people love to say, we are very early to this stuff. But it's a little bit harder to get involved, which is sort of the nature, of getting involved with an industry in its infancy. You're going to have to work a little bit harder than you will if you show up. Because if you show up 20 years from now, I guarantee most of the stuff is going to be totally seamless. You're not even going to realize what it is that you're doing. Much in the same way that, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a relevant example here, but I don't know. Evan, help me out here. Some other piece of technology that used to be looked at as really complicated that is now just second nature.
Honestly,
Maybe
I would say
laptops and
smartphones is the
smartphones.
first one that comes to
Yeah.
mind. Even
Yeah.
for a lot of old folks, or cars.
Mm. Car's a good one. Yep. I mean, a more relevant example would probably be making a website. Back in the day, I remember even just when I was like first learning about web design, you would have to literally write the HTML by hand, and, trial and error, do this. Okay. How does that look? Nope,
Yeah.
that's wrong. Do this, fix it. Does it change? Now, I mean, you've got all of the Squarespaces of the world. Anybody can open up a beautiful interface, perfectly arrange a website, and then it writes a tremendous amount of complicated code for you on the back end and just hands you a beautiful finished product. In the future, and I don't even think too far off, that's where all of this blockchain stuff is going to get to.
Yeah, 100%. It will be composable. It will be no code. It will almost certainly be open source. One of the interesting things about making no one person or entity in a corporate network like YouTube or like Meta or like Google or even like Edwin is here and he was talking about Onyx. I think it's a different Onyx than the Chase or excuse me JP Morgan blockchain, but the JP Morgan blockchain Onyx. It's a blockchain, but power accumulates at the center, at JP Morgan's hub, at YouTube's headquarters with Mark Zuckerberg. There is a central accumulation of power. And people who use the service at the edges of this circle, if you will, they don't have the power to argue about the terms and conditions, to own the network. It's nice because we don't have a lot of responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. And nobody wants that really. But the cool thing about inverting the ownership relationship, using software that can make commitments that is immutable, like a blockchain, something like Bitcoin, a program on Ethereum. What that does is it it moves power away from the center and toward the edges of the network, towards the people on the ground who are most affected by the decisions they make every single day. Yesterday, I ended the show reading a quote from Vitalik about how blockchain, um, maybe I can find it again. It was about moving power to the edges of networks. Whereas most technologies tend to automate workers on the periphery, on the edge, doing menial tasks, blockchains automate the center. Instead of putting the taxi driver out of a job, blockchain puts Uber out of a job and lets the taxi drivers work with the customer directly. These models of the past have been about attracting, or at least on the internet, attracting customers and then extracting value from them. TikTok wants your eyes right here. It wants Alex and I making a show right here so that they can make the money. But nobody's coming to TikTok because they like what TikTok's doing. They like what we're all doing. They love what we have done together. And so, for my money, I think a big step is going to be when people get a taste of that in a meaningful way through a model that is simple. And if it truly is open source, if it truly is composable, meaning you can build on top of it, and it's not just like a recreation of the wheel, but call it tokens. I think people will really, I don't know what our iPhone moment is going to be, but I think it's going to kind of take that, is what I say all of this to get to. I think we're going to need 1,000 songs in your pocket for something that is not money about crypto. I'm not entirely sure what it is going to be, but I think there are a lot of places that are interesting to look. Constitutions, identity, gaming
Well,
could be it, honestly. It could be that some Web3 game teaches people what it really is to experience tokens and own things.
I think that that's the I think that that's probably closest to it for me at least. Because if you, even me, being the supporter of the industry that I am, if someone sits me down, they're like, look, I'm super sketched out by 99% of this stuff. Why shouldn't I be? I would tell them, no, you should be. You should be sketched out by 99% of it, because 99% of it is kind of just a pyramid scheme. Like Evan and I could use a bunch of flowery, buzzy language and dress up something and present it. And I guarantee that the general swath of, people who don't really look past, the pitch deck would be like, yep, sounds legit. Just because we've seen enough of these to know exactly how you need to present this stuff. But it doesn't matter, like if I go then to someone, so here's a funny aside. When I'm at the rescue, every single time someone asks me about paying the adoption fee and what kinds of payment we accept, can they use PayPal or do they have to write a check or whatever? I always tell them I made it as easy as possible for people to give us money. So you can use anything from a bag of pennies to Bitcoin. And I usually do that just to sort of, for my own,
like
I never take the conversation. Yeah. It's not meant to be a conversation. It's not meant to go anywhere else, but almost everybody has some sort of immediate reaction to hearing the word Bitcoin. And there's three. There's, good joke. That stuff is bullshit. Or there's, oh, cool. That's neat. Or there's, never heard of it. And that's it. And then, very rarely would someone like make a comment about it or whatever, and then it could be a cool moment, a cool conversation. Yeah. But the vast majority of the time, it's never heard of it or a little chuckle. So the piece for me that makes it the easiest to explain to someone who has no prior context is to like, why should you give a shit about any of this? I always just ask people, like, do you enjoy listening to music, watching movies, or playing video games? Any of those three things. I've yet to meet someone who doesn't like one of those three. And the interesting thing about all of those is that pretty much everything that you could ever purchase in any of those three categories is a digital product. Yep. And in the year 2024, you do not own really any of it.
No.
And that's wild to me that you can, just take me and gaming, right? And so I play a lot of video games. I don't really buy a ton of different ones. I kind of play the same few repeatedly. But still, if I were to add up how much money I've spent on video games over the last 10 years, I guarantee it's $1,000, $1,500, something like that over the last decade. And ultimately, the only thing that I actually own is the console. Everything else was downloaded and it's hosted somewhere else. And if tomorrow Bungie or Treyarch, Activision, whoever decides to just pull something offline, it's gone. We just saw this with a very hyped up game, the name of which is escaping me right now. It launched, a huge hype campaign. It launched, and like 2 days later, the game studio was like, never mind. And they pulled the whole thing offline. And everyone who had bought it was just like shit out of luck.
Wow.
What the hell was it called? It was like a zombie apocalypse survival game. It'll come to me. I'll look it up. I can't remember. Some of the, bunch of big streamers were talking about it. It had a terrible launch. It flopped real hard.
The day before?
Yes, that's it. Yeah. So the studio that released it just kind of pulled it offline. They pulled support for it, and they just said, I think one of the lead devs was quoted as saying, when people were asking about refunds, they were quoted as saying, shit happens. But at the end of the day, you didn't own any of it. The same is true for music. You pay for Spotify Premium. You enjoy listening to music. My wife is listening to music pretty much 24/7. It honestly drives me nuts a lot of the time. She just has it on her phone, playing it out of a phone speaker, walking from room to room, doing whatever, just taking it with her. She's usually listening to it. Her Spotify, like the end of the year Wrapped, is bananas. She's in the top 2% of everything all the time for how many hours of music she listens to every single year. even though she pays monthly for that subscription to have access to that stuff,
Yeah.
one, she doesn't own anything, and two, the artist who made the music that she's enjoying barely gets anything. The stat that blew my mind was Snoop Dogg saying he just passed his some odd billionth stream on Spotify, and grand total in the lifetime of him with his music on the platform, he has earned $45,000 from Spotify for all of his streaming, which
It's
if
wild.
that's how Snoop Dogg is getting shafted, that he's making like way less than minimum wage for billions of streams of his music on a multi-billion-dollar company's platform. Like, I mean, think about that. Think about an independent artist who's just starting and just got listed on a Spotify playlist, right? Like,
Okay, so
they're
I
not
think we
getting
understand
shit.
that that's the problem. But my question to you is, let's explore how tokens specifically solve it, or how
So,
blockchain networks of people can solve it. Because I
so
think we set people up to understand that. And a lot of people I've seen here and elsewhere on YouTube,
yeah.
if you're watching later, are going to be asking, okay, so what is it? What is it? It's money. It's just money. You say it looks like other stuff. What are
Yep.
these tokens and how do they fix it?
So the interesting piece about this, if you remember from yesterday, and I'll recap just briefly, the idea of this magic notebook. So a blockchain is like a magical notebook that we all can have a copy of that keeps a list of everything that's happened.
And when you
And
update yours, mine gets updated. All the
they
notebooks checked to make sure it was something allowed to be done, right?
Yep,
And
they
publish it.
all get updated at the same time, and you cannot go in and erase something because everyone already has a copy of it. Okay,
Yeah,
so
we're gonna know if you try to do some funny business.
yeah, you can't futz with it. Okay,
They
so
all
keeping
get
that
updated.
analogy.
Yeah, okay, great. I love it. That's my favorite.
So keeping that analogy, um, the idea here is that if I wanted to take my ownership of this digital stuff a step further. So recap my big rant there. The problem is that a lot of the stuff we own now is digital, but there's no way to keep it separate or to prove that like it's yours. You don't actually get to own it. Someone else is hosting it. The idea of a token here is that it's basically like taking this piece of digital stuff and assigning a specific number for it and recording the fact that this specific number was given to you in this magical notebook. So now everyone with their notebook gets to know that this song, this video game, this movie has this serial number and it was given to Evan. Evan owns it, and here's the record of it forever in everyone's magical notebook. So that in 5 years, when someone is coming around and saying like, hey, everyone who owned or bought this movie from me is going to get my next movie for free. Now, without the blockchain stuff, it's incredibly hard to prove because what do you really have to show? You're like, oh yeah, I have a copy of this. It's like, okay, well, where'd you get that copy? Did you actually buy it from me, the person who made the movie, or did you find it on the street? Or did you steal it from someone? Or did you just happen upon it? Or did someone plagiarize and pirate this, copy it, and then send the copies to 800 of their friends?
Yeah.
We don't. But because the person who made the movie assigned this special number to it and then wrote the entry in the magic notebook and gave it to Evan, we all know forever that that happened. And Evan can prove that, no, I mean, this is my notebook. Here's the record. You can all check it. And all of us can see that I got that special one. And we can tell that no one copied it, that whatever, it's one of the originals. The same, I don't have it on me right now, but it's the same way that like if someone painted something and then they wrote you, the certificate of authenticity and they signed it and they gave it to you with the painting, this is the digital version of that. Except you don't have to worry about losing the certificate, it getting coffee spilled on it and falling apart, it burning up in a fire, or it just getting lost because
Yeah. What about
it's
forgeries? Can I forge it? If we're talking about a digital product, let's say it's a Disney
Yep.
movie or a video game or a trading card, and I take the file and copy it and paste it, and now they're identical. It's just a digital product. That's what I'm looking at, right? How is that
Yep.
different?
So you can absolutely do that. The best example there is the whole, right click save an NFT the JPEG, right?
Yeah.
So Evan has an NFT that he paid for. He shows it to me on, Twitter.
On my phone or something. It's a
On
Bored
his
Ape
phone.
Yacht Club monkey picture. Look, here's my monkey picture. It's an NFT.
I go ahead and I right click it and I download that JPEG and I save it myself. And I'm like, cool. Well, now I can walk around and show people on my phone that I also have this thing and I didn't pay for it. This idiot paid $10,000 for it. I got it for free. Screw him. You can absolutely do that. The problem is, if it ever comes to a point where you need to prove that you have it, you didn't get the notebook inscription. It's your copy is not in the notebook.
Yeah.
If you did put it in the notebook, because I could take this a step further, I right click save it from Evan, I put it on my phone, and then I, because it's easy to do, mint my own NFT using the same JPEG, which I could totally do.
Yeah, sure.
Mine is going to have its own serial number. It's going to get written in the notebook, but it's going to be written after Evan's because Evan's was there first. I had to copy it from Evan, so his is already in the notebook. So timestamp his is at 10 a.m. and I took that and did that. Mine's now at 10:30. Whatever. Anybody could call my bullshit and open their own copy of the notebook and hold it up and point it to me and say, well, I can see here that Evan's is serial number 1234. Yours is 5678. Yours is 30 minutes after Evan's, so it's pretty easy for me to prove right now that Evan's was first. That means that yours is the copy. And anyone can do that from any device, anywhere in the world, anytime they want.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the beautiful part. It doesn't prevent people from stealing, but it makes it so that the person who was stolen from can irrefutably prove forever that they were stolen from and can instantly make it so that anyone who looks can tell that the one that was stolen from them is a fake. You know how in Pawn Stars they have to call in their rare whatever. Got to call in my Beanie Baby expert, whatever, and they're looking. Yeah, they're looking at all of these different things. Like, okay, well, I can tell based on this and this and this that this has a pretty good chance of being real, whatever. With blockchain, it's like open the Explorer, read the code line, boom, it's fake. Or boom.
Quick aside, do you know if those guys are crypto enthusiasts?
I have no idea.
Because how cool would it be, like an adoption and education, like put on your proud teacher hat to have somebody walk in with a cell phone and they're like, hey guys, I got this monkey JPEG. It's from the Bored Ape Yacht Club. And they'll be like, got to call my NFT guy. And like, obviously they're not going to pick us because nobody knows who we are. But wouldn't it be so cool to roll in and be like, now I know you don't know how to do this yet, but let me show you how easy it is to look up on the blockchain. We're going to the blockchain explorer to find the contract that lists the token, and walk them through it and say, we're not looking
I can
at
see
the picture.
You can see it right now where Rick purposely mispronounces it, Pokimane cards. And then the old man makes some sort of wisecrack and says he doesn't get it. And then Chum tells them that they're both idiots and, explains it. That's like really the sleeper, funny aside, that's the sleeper agent of that entire show is that Chum is just a genius and everyone's been shitting on that guy for years. Anyway, we could continue to go on. I think if there's confusion still, let me know. But I think that kind of encapsulates.
Yeah, let me try and sum it up. To play the person who's learning, you're saying that these tokens on a blockchain ledger, on our magic notebook, these tokens, they give sort of a form to this idea of assets that don't physically exist, and also to this idea of my ownership of that asset, and also to an idea of the relationship that we might have as the creator of an asset and the person who purchased it or earned it or received it. Go ahead.
I would say I don't think we've gotten to the relationship piece. I think that that probably is a little bit later. But the first piece you said, I think, is exactly spot on. The idea here being that for the first time, or for the most in the most impactful way ever, we are now able to assign unique properties to digital stuff that can't be screwed with.
Yeah, and it is for the first time. There are ways to try and verify that a digital thing is what it purports to be, but until blockchain, there was no way to prove one copy of a digital thing from another with certainty. There
Yeah.
was always a step at which it might have been somehow altered. You know, the screenshot, the file data, the pathway,
Yeah.
the intermediary presenting it to you, altering it somehow to make you buy it.
So
This is effortless certainty that it is what it purports to be.
there are just never ending examples of where you can take like why this is important.
Yeah.
The last one that I'll give kind of just popped into my head is have you ever seen the phenomenon unfold before you where people are trying to determine which photograph is the original in
Yeah.
something, like either like of a UFO sighting or just something crazy that somebody posted and we're trying to tell like is the photo doctored, was it edited, who had it first, where did it come from, now it's on the internet, it's been copied, it's been shared on 4,000 blogs all over the place, like who knows what the first one was. Blockchain is the tool that allows you to determine which one was actually first and then which ones have been edited copies or which ones came after. And it does it in such a way that there is zero room to disagree. That's it.
Yeah. And this is any kind of information can be captured in these magic notebooks, and anybody, like Alex said, can create a network of notebooks, give it out to their friends, make it available online, and set the rules accordingly. Remember, the key thing that's different from this about other, usually if you own the computer, you set the rules for that computer. You can kick people off. But the notebook, once that notebook exists in the world, the rules enforce themselves. If there are only ever going to be 10 pages in this notebook, then there can only ever be 10 pages unless all of the notebook holders, a majority of them, agree to change it. And that's a great thing about it too, because it makes democracy online possible in a way that is much less susceptible to power. Do you think I feel like I mean there's honestly so much I think we could talk more about tokens, non-fungible tokens, token
Well,
standards, supply and demand. I'm interested to hear what you think comes next, and whether or not we
yeah.
should shift to maybe some just general Q&A to check where people's understanding is.
I was
What do you think?
thinking, so I was thinking actually that one way to kind of cap this portion that might be kind of cool is just to demonstrate an actual example of this verification. Because I know for me personally, like it clicks a lot better for me if I look at something than if someone just talks at me. And
Yeah.
everything I say, sounds interesting, maybe, but if you don't have to take my word for it. I would rather show you. So
Yeah. Don't
uh,
take our word for it.
and I was
Okay.
just going to have you pick the blockchain, any blockchain.
Let's do Ethereum and keep it easy.
Okay. So we're going to go to, right now what I'm going to do here is have Evan tell me something. So Evan's going to lie. Evan's going to lie to me. Let's say that Evan is going to lie to me about how much ETH he has.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
And right
and
now,
my do you want my ENS domain? Will that help you?
sure.
Okay. So really quick for anyone, it's conversationswithevan.eth. So anybody who doesn't know, Ethereum is a network like Bitcoin that is based on a blockchain. It is a programmable computer. You can build applications on top of it. You can create tokens and non-fungible tokens. And one of the apps on Ethereum is ENS, Ethereum Name Service. Just like DNS, Domain Name Service, but instead of just being a certificate somebody keeps in a file cabinet somewhere, it's a token on a blockchain. So it comes with all those cool properties. So in this case, it functions as a pointer. It's in a wallet that I control. And therefore, anybody who wants to go find that wallet can just search conversationswithevan.eth instead of having to remember the name of my address, which is like 0x1234566. It's like 64 characters.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alex. I just wanted to give people that in case they're like, whoa, what?
Yeah. So like Evan said, anyone who would like to use any blockchain creates for themselves a wallet, which is the same thing as an address. It's the equivalent of them getting their own phone number or their own email address. It's a unique identifier that lets people send them stuff or lets them send stuff to people.
Mm-hmm.
So what Evan just did is he gave me his public address so that I can look it up on a blockchain. So right now, me and Evan are sitting in a bar, and Evan's like, "Yeah, dude, I've got 10 Bored Apes. I'm a pretty big deal." And I'm like, "Oh, damn, that's awesome." And then he's got the JPEGs on his phone, right? They're saved in his camera roll. He's like, "Yeah, this one, and this one." And he's fudged a little bit with some Photoshop of a screenshot of his wallet front page with these Bored Apes sitting in it, whatever. And I'm like, "Oh, dude, that's wild. What number ape is that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's number, I don't know, Evan, pick a Bored Ape, any ape."
Yeah, my favorite Bored Ape is number, where the hell did it go? 1798.
Okay.
This is how you know we're really nerds in this stuff, is that I don't own any Bored Apes. I have a favorite Bored Ape, though. And not for the reasons you might expect. We can talk. Actually, I might like to talk a little about bottom-up storytelling as an example of stuff. If not today, certainly later. I feel like it's relevant, though. Please. 1798. That's my ape, man. Check it out.
So 1798. Already Evan's story is starting to fall apart because it took me here. You know what? Let me turn this around.
I was just gonna do mine. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So here we are, and I'm looking at OpenSea, which is just kind of the biggest NFT marketplace on the planet. And Evans told me that the ape he owns, his favorite one, is number 1798. So I'm like, "Oh, cool. I'm gonna pull that up." And okay, so here I am. I can see the JPEG. So here's the JPEG. Here's the picture.
Right. That's what I showed him from my phone, and I told him I owned it. But what other information does that interface give you?
So I can get any and all of the information here. So I come down, and just like kind of a profile on a social media site, I can see a description. Okay, so it's created by this Bored Ape Yacht Club. This is the verified profile. So I'm like, okay,
so
cool. That looks.
That token is a real token, as opposed to one created by just some guy.
Here's the attributes. So it's got an orange background. Yep. He's wearing the vest. Yep. Wide eyes. Yep. Wearing brown fur. Whatever. Okay. Cool. This all checks out. Seems to be right. Here's some details about the collection. Don't care about that right now. Here's the juice. Here's the token information. So this is the address. All right. This is the address that.
Can you read it for us?
It's just a bunch of numbers, but here's the address that owns it. Here's the ID number for the one 1798. The one he told me. It is an ERC 721. Don't worry about that. We'll explain that later. It lives on the Ethereum blockchain. Okay, cool. Metadata is frozen, just confirming that it's not editable, because again, we'll get into that on the NFT lesson later. But
notebook doesn't allow you to make changes. Just swap out what picture is there or whatever.
Exactly. And then if we scroll down a little bit farther, I can see a full record of every time this has moved. So this is like the equivalent of the Magic Notebook, and something happened, it gets written in the notebook. So they're all here in order. So we can see that nothing has moved here from 2 years ago. Well, that's strange, because Evan just told me that he just got this thing like a week ago. And he, paid thousands of dollars for it. I'm like, okay, already I can tell you're lying, because this particular token has not moved in 2 years. So that's interesting. And then, like he said, his address is conversationswithevan.eth, and that's cool because I can pull that.
Type that into Etherscan. Yeah.
So Etherscan is the Ethereum blockchain explorer. Every single blockchain on Earth has an explorer, which is just a website that you can go to that you can read the Magic Notebook. This is where you go to read the notebook.
Yeah, the Magic Notebook itself is really just like a spreadsheet that's got people's addresses and like information about, I sent him this, and it's not even that friendly. So this is like a Google-esque user interface that makes it easy for people with no technical experience to look up pretty much anything that might be in that magic notebook of the blockchain. It's like the hands and fingers in the table of contents that you would turn the pages in your notebook with.
So I've looked up. So Evan told me his name, conversations with Evan.e. So I searched for that just in the search bar here, and come down here, and now I start to get the information. Okay, so resolved address. So here is the big,
meaning the address it points to.
yeah, here's the big long string of numbers that is the same thing as his email address for this account. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
just look how gross that is. Like, if I wanted to tell you to send me a token and I had to say 0xabc2, I mean, it would be disgusting.
Imagine telling that to somebody on the phone who is trying to pay you for rent or something. You know,
Utterly
it's
unusable.
nonsense. Yeah. And Evan, we're going to out you here.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
But,
this is my social wallet. Anybody can, it's good. I have others.
So I'm like, all right, cool. Let's just start looking. Let's just start digging here. So here is a full list of every transaction that this wallet has ever done. Now, keep in mind that, again, I'm on a public website, etherscan.com, that absolutely anybody can go to. Anyone who knows conversations with Evan.eth can go look at this exact page on their thing. So you could go make sure that I'm not showing you some, BS website right now. And here's a list of all the transactions. So here's the latest 25 of 69 total transactions. Here are the unique identifiers for each of those. We'll get to that later. Here's exactly what it was. So this one was a transfer. This was a transfer from. Here's a deposit. Here he minted something 272 days ago. Blah, blah, blah. Just all of the info that you could ever want. Okay, so let's take a look here and see all of the NFT transfers that he's ever made. Now, I happen to know that Evan just sent this NFT to one of our engineers not too long ago who's working on a project that we're building that needed an NFT. So he sent them that. Okay, cool. There's the proof that he did it 8 days and 18 hours ago. It was this NFT. Here's the type. This is the address he sent it to. Here's his address, the one he sent it from. Yep. Here's the unique serial number for this transaction. Okay, cool. So let's just keep scrolling. That's weird, Evan. I'm not seeing any Bored Ape transfers here.
Look at that bottom one. That could fool you. Check that one.
Okay, this is actually an epic example. Okay. So here's Evan right here, who's like, look at that. See, I told you. There it is, right there.
You can't quite see it. That picture has the same picture as the token that I told Alex about. This is an instance of where you can take the same picture from a famous token and create a duplicate. So what's going on there, Alex?
So at first glance here, if I stop right here, I might be like, oh, damn, look at that. He was telling me the truth. That's 1798. That's the number he said. It is an ERC 721. It is an NFT. He bought 613 days. So, okay, so it's like, pushing 2 years ago. Interesting. All right, well, that checks out. I could stop right there and just take his word for it. But as always, I can keep going. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at this specifically. So all of these identifiers that give you all of the specific information about that transaction are right here, and they're all clickable. So let's just open this link. It's like, okay, cool. So what happened? This happened 613 days ago and 7 hours. It was a transfer of one. Evan, is this how I find out that you actually do own this frickin' ape? And
what I would encourage you to do is look at the contract that minted it, and then look at my the original. I wish if I owned this ape, that would be such a cool collector achievement for me. I love. We'll get into this ape in a second.
I do happen to know.
I'd like to tell people the story of what this asset is as a great illustration of what they can become.
So, all right. So here, what do I got?
Just see.
It was a
yeah.
Where do you want me to go first?
What I would do, just if you want to prove me wrong, is I would say look at the contract that issued that asset, and then look at the contract that on OpenSea issued the original 1798 Bored Ape Yacht Club token, and you will see that it is not a match. And then I can give you some context for it.
So,
and let me just say real quick that I know we're dealing with the tiny screen here, so thank you for zooming in with us.
Yeah.
This is the best user interface we have, and it's good, but I think Alex and I, who use this a lot, would both agree there's probably a lot of room for improvement before your grandma is in here trying to like verify her NFT, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the address that this one came from. The unique name here that makes it a little bit easier than just the numbers is, oh, that's not focused, riderrips.eth. Okay. So I'm like, all right, well, let's come over here back to the real one. Who created this one? Is it this Rider Rips thing? Sorry, pointing you at the wrong stuff. Okay, so let's come down back to our history here. Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Okay, interesting. I'm not seeing Rider Rips here at all. It was minted from something else. And also just see here that it was minted May 1st, 2021 at 2:25 in the morning. And Evans was not quite that long ago.
Yeah, it was. I think mine is. It probably shortly before I bought it. It was minted. I think probably a couple weeks.
Evans was minted. Oh, five days after that, or a year and 5 days after that. May 26th of 2022 at midnight 30. So already here's one way that we can prove that this is wrong. And I didn't really need to know, too much other than the address. But like Evan said, this is not the easiest website to look through. So this is one of those things that, we would like to see improve, that I believe will certainly improve.
And think about, just think about though, how much easier that was than like when you walk into my house, how do you know that I own it? I mean, my stuff's here. But if I want to prove to you that I own it, like at the bank or something, I got to drudge up the deed. I've got to, go to my county assessor. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to sit in line. I got to wait for 60 minutes. I have to have some human somewhere tell me the right answer about a thing. You know what I mean? There's all this rigmarole, all these hoops you got to jump through. And because it's tokens in a magic notebook called a blockchain, I mean, Alex, if he was just doing it himself and we weren't teaching, it probably would have taken you less than a minute to just know that I was full of shit. Yep. That's not the token it purports to be, even though the images that they point to are identical.
The easiest thing too, that honestly, I don't know why we didn't just start with this, but the easiest thing would have just, here, let me turn here one more time. Because Evan's absolutely right. I can prove in 10 seconds here that this isn't his. So if we go back here to the start, hold on, there we go. Okay. So I look up conversations with Evans.eth. Here's the Ethereum address. So it ends in 4B6A. Okay. I'm looking at this thing. Oh, weird. The address that this token is in ends with 0FF0. So it's not in the same address. It's not in the same wallet.
Yeah, and of course I could say to Alex, "Oh, sorry, man. I just that's my wallet too. I own that wallet too." But he could suss me out a lot of other ways. Yeah,
exactly. But that would be the easiest way to just quickly prove that. All right, we're already off to a bad start here. Whatever. So that's the easiest thing.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to be the expert on Pawn Shop for NFTs. I would absolutely love that episode. That would, so guys, if you're watching, call us. We will make it worth your time and your audience's time. Can I
am
oh, go ahead.
Anxiously waiting for someone to show up in the Pawn Star store and try to sell them an NFT. It would be hilarious.
I would just love that. I want to quickly just tell people for context, this will help you see some of the things tokens can do. So because you can verify who owns a token, that allows you to use tokens like this JPEG as a deed for something in the real world. And not just a deed to a physical thing like a real world asset. If you're in crypto, you might have heard that term, RWA. It's a strong use case for what blockchain can do because like Alex said, unlike a physical thing. It's not going to be stolen. It's not going to be forged. You can't lose it. It's not going to deteriorate over time. And then it also can function as a gateway to experiences. If I show up at a party at the Bored Ape Yacht Club, they're not going to ask me, hey, can I see your monkey picture? They're going to say, show me your token. I will pull up a wallet that only I have access to because I have the password, the private key. If I don't have the passwords, if I don't have the keys to the wallet that holds the asset, the notebook, if you will, they're going to know in an instant that any picture I show them is a fake, just like Alex did here. There are some more seamless ways to verify it, with QR codes or passwords or test transactions. But we'll get into all those things later. The thing I wanted to tell you about this particular monkey picture is that a few years ago, when NFTs sort of entered the popular parlance, it was as magic notebook entries for pictures on the internet, essentially proving one picture that looked the same as another from it. It was demonstrating that ability for blockchains, magic notebooks, to help us tell copies on the internet apart quickly with effortless certainty. And so it also, at the same time, created the ability for provably unique digital assets to exist the same way trading cards do, but better. In the sense that if Alex shows me one of his magic cards, I really don't know. I got to take it to pawn shop. Is this real? You saw how quick and easy that was. The cool thing about this is the stuff it enables people to do with what they own. If I owned Jenkins the valet, as this monkey is called, he used to be just a monkey picture, number 1798, but somebody somewhere who owned that token said, he looks like he's the valet of the Bored Ape Yacht Club. I bet he's got some interesting stories about the kinds of characters that he's met at his time there over the years, and just started publishing about it online. Well, other people in the Bored Ape community liked it enough that they paid enough attention to it and started to promote it such that this character that the guy totally invented has become an incredible intellectual property with a book. There was a movie in the works in 2023. I don't know if it still is. And even a subset collection. Jenkins, the owner, created tokens for people who cared about that story and issued those. People bought them because there was a demand for them as a collector item. There was a demand to contribute to the story. Those people have the ability, when stories about Jenkins are proposed, to vote on what story should we tell. And I don't have to tell anybody watching, whether you're a fan of Star Wars or Harry Potter or the video game that got the plot wrong, how cool it would be for you to be able to contribute a story and then contribute a say to what story was the best. Could you imagine how much better the next Star Wars movie would be if all the people who really cared about it had the opportunity to say, no, this is what should happen, and give it to the world instead of 5 people in a writer's room somewhere who have access to Hollywood? That's the kind of thing that tokens will unlock. And I bought this particular token, I'll tell you that story another day, because I love the story of Jenkins and because I saw what this particular instigator was trying to do, the argument they were trying to make about, well, I've got a token that has the same picture, and what does it mean? Is it legal? Da, 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 da. We'll get into that another time. Did you get your you got a visual look at there?
That's a great example. So I was just going to say that, like Evan just said, so I was able to suss out, the one that he showed me as being a fake using blockchain stuff. So if I then wanted to return the favor to Evan and say that this copy of 10th edition Lord of the Pit is, one of my favorite Magic cards, it looks like it, right? It's got the right back. It's in a case, so it's legit. It looks right. It is real, obviously, so I can't really point out a reason. I think I might have a fake one. Ooh, actually, I do have a fake one pointed out somewhere. But anyway, I showed this to Evan, and Evan's like, okay, cool. How do I know that it's real? Evan, don't let me put words in your mouth, but I don't think you would have any way of determining whether or not this was real or not.
No, and even if I had, knew what to look for, I don't know that card itself and my ability to observe it doesn't give me anywhere near the same veracity, verifiability, that a blockchain does. It's not the same kind of attestation to prove. It's kind of like you said about relying on a human intermediary. I'm relying on my eyes. I'm relying on my judgment, which could be fooled. I'm relying on my perception of you, the card. Um, because the magic notebook is a piece of computer code that nobody can alter. It's not arbitrary. Arbitrary just means it depends on the decision of a person. The blockchain doesn't. It just, it tells you what's there or what's not there. Yeah, I don't know, Alex. I don't think I could do it. And I know that even if I felt confident about doing it, it wouldn't be as certain as looking it up on a blockchain.
So just as a tiny example here, right? Like this is a fake card.
Okay.
And this one is really easy to tell because it's got a different. So that's what the back of a magic card looks like. This is a proxy that we printed just because I don't feel like shuffling my real one into every single deck that I have. And it's like a $200 card. So I have one real one and then I made a bunch of copies of it. This kind of stuff is starting to permeate the card world. Here's a cool example of a card that I got at a conference. This one has an NFT that attaches to it. And if you want to see it on the back, there's a QR code so you could scan it and then see where the token version of this card lives.
That's cool.
And if you did that, you would see that it lives in a wallet that I could prove to you is mine. And that's easy. So, there's a quick and easy way to start showing that like this stuff can also cross over. And this was a really cool. I don't know if this project is even still like up and running and doing stuff, but that was a pretty neat little aside.
Alex, I think this might be a good point to do a couple of things. First of all, got to say thank you to everybody for watching and sticking with us. If you have enjoyed the stream so far, if you're watching this live, give us some of those likes. Give us a little tap. It's totally free. You don't have to send us money. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to give us a gift. But this is the most helpful thing you can do is when your thumbs are at the ready, let the algorithm know that this is good. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're like, well, how do I do that? Join us on the live show. We're live every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. UTC. The third thing you can do, if you're on YouTube, leave us a comment or something. Help us, give us a follow. Let the algorithm know we're helpful. Is join our Discord. It's also free. If you want to be a guest on the show, if you want to ask a question that isn't limited to like 100 characters in a comment, or you just want to get to know Alex, myself, and the kind of people in this space like us better, we are all the Faceless Many, and that's the name of our Discord server. The everyday people who will rise up with this new knowledge to write a better future. It's eminently bold, it's eminently practical, and it is yours to access totally free at discord.gg/themany. Thank you, Angel, for the likes. Thank you, Angel. Thank you, Edwin. Thank you, Tori. Thank you, everybody who's always coming through with us every day and spending time with us. And thank you for helping make our audience a place that people can come and ask any question. If you have a question, I would love for you to leave it below. If you have an idea for a project to look into, a theme to explore, let us know that too. But the best place for that really is the Discord server. It's discord.gg/themany. And we would love to see you there. Alex, we had a question just a couple ago that asked, could this technology help solve deepfakes? And I wanted to zoom in on that and say the answer is absolutely yes. And the first way it can help solve deepfakes is by ensuring that people who own an intellectual property are the ones who are entitled to the rights to publish it. If Taylor Swift releases a song as an NFT, then it will be easy to tell her legitimate copies from fake ones. And this is a down the road step, but if that technology is in place, people are using NFTs to prove things are what they say that they are. It will also be easy for someone to create a service that combs the internet for those MP3 files of her songs, which are not attached to NFTs released by her authorized address. However, I personally would argue that copies make the original more valuable. I personally think one of the eras we're about to enter is an era of intellectual property where people give most of their stuff away in the interest of it reaching as many people as possible, which right now the incentives don't line up in such a way that that's conducive to, you have to buy it to get it. You have to buy it to share it. We don't want you to share it unless you bought it, which if I'm trying to get my name out there, my story out there, it gets in the way. What do you think, Alex?
There was a question about that too. How would you use this if they're all unique? How would you use this to release a series of something or a bunch of copies of the same thing? And so obviously, in this example, Taylor Swift does not want to just sell a single copy of one of the songs. She wants all of her fans to be able to get it. So this is where the two different numbers attached to an NFT come into play. So in this world, Taylor Swift would release a collection for song 1, and it would be called, Taylor Swift Song 1, and it would have one of those giant 32-digit long numbers attached to it. And then she would say, I would like to do a limited release, so I'm only going to do 100,000 copies of this. We know she has way more than 100,000 fans. So, okay, cool. This one is Taylor Swift Song 1, 1. Song 1, 2, Song 1, 3, etc., all the way up to 100,000. They all have this unique little number. And she, on her official page, publishes, this is the real collection number. It's called Taylor Swift Song 1, and there are this many copies. And here's the date timestamp that it was created. Now, anyone can ever, just the same way that I just did with this Bored Ape NFT that Evan claimed to have, go up and just see like, okay, I can see the number here. Here's the one that someone's trying to sell me right now as the limited edition Taylor Swift song. But that's strange. Their number is different than the one on her website. It's fake. And it was that easy. It's that easy. There's no like, well, I need to call someone and determine like, okay, is this audio file deprecated? Has it been copied too many times? Like, how do I know this is real? Like all these tiny little minutia that could be used to prove out that something is real or not, whatever. There are major implications for this making stuff anti-piratable that are pretty interesting. So no, I think it's a great example.
Somebody asked what does that mean? Like, could I, in terms of, I wasn't quite clear on the question. It's a little bit up. I'm sorry. It was and me. What about sharing and copywriting audio stuff? And I think it depends on if Alex did this collection and released this music, Alex as Taylor Swift, looking good, Taylor, drops his album, and he's going to do a couple things. He's going to make that collection, and then he or his representatives are going to, the same way they would upload it to Spotify or upload it to their YouTube channel, they're going to also, when they upload, song title, MP3 file, they're going to upload the name of the NFT collection. This is the wallet that created the collection. This is the song ID, whatever. So that Spotify can help distribute only the NFTs, or maybe Spotify has a license to stream the song without an NFT. Maybe somebody copies the song without an NFT. But what are you really buying when you buy a song? You're supporting Taylor Swift, first of all, but you might be buying access. You might be buying album artwork, the right to own a physical copy. All these things can be easily attested to and distributed with an NFT. And in terms of like copying and sharing, I'm trying to think of how to say this in a different way than I just said it before. If what you are concerned about is someone imitating you as Taylor Swift and publishing your song, it just is a matter of this technology getting better and better. When this technology is available at scale, Spotify is going to know how to do what we just did. They're going to build a tool that saves Taylor Swift's authorized wallet address. And when somebody tries to publish a song as Taylor Swift, just like they would check, is this really Taylor's phone number? Is this really Taylor's email? Is this really Taylor's voice? They're going to check that thing. If you don't have that thing, you can't publish music as Taylor Swift. It's still an intermediary step, but it's more close to the thing, the true identity of the person than an email, than a phone number, than a username, something like that, which could be hijacked or co-opted. I don't know, Alex, if you can answer that in another way, but like I said last time about bots, right now, if I post a song that's copyrighted on TikTok, they have a tool to listen to my video, determine if I'm violating copyright, and delist my video. Similarly, they will have a tool to see automatically if Evan is sharing a file, is it attached to a token he owns the right to distribute and share? And if the answer is no, they will, enforce it.
Yep. Yeah, I imagine that it'll end that way. There's other that I think are probably irrelevant to today's conversation, but yeah, I mean, no, I think that's about as good as I would say.
Yeah, I think what I would say to folks is I told Alex I have a hard stop. I have to run. But if you think about your questions about this tomorrow, my plan when we talked to Alex at the end of last week was maybe that we could use tomorrow for some of our Thursdays could be about future predictions. They could be a little lighter. Maybe we could have some silly examples. But I would say tune in tomorrow with those questions and bring them to the Discord. If you have ideas, questions, suggestions, let's keep the conversation going there. That'll help us inform our show tomorrow. It's discord.gg/themany. And of course, we will be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, 1 p.m. UTC to wrap up week 1 of the expanded format, Web3 101. Alex, does that still sound good to you? Do you have any thoughts or feelings about where you want to take it tomorrow?
Well, I think we could do potentially the specific project stuff.
Yeah.
Go briefly into some of the big major ones. I do still want to do your list of your 5 most impactful
5 to know.
versus my 5, and then we kind of go through, all of those. I'm sure we'll have some crossover. So I think if we were to do a brief peek into putting some of this stuff into real context, like, okay, we've talked about what a blockchain is and how this works and blah, 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 whatever. Here's what it looks like in practice. And here's the way that this group is going to try to sell you this thing versus the way they're going to sell you this thing or whatever. Because I think then from there we can expand, next week into a bunch more specifics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm gonna have an example in my top 5 that you need to know that's gonna address this question about deep fakes and how do we verify that this really is Barack Obama and not misinformation. I know a project that talks about how blockchains, keys, tokens, digital signatures, something that we haven't gotten into too much. Maybe we can unpack as an example. That'll be helpful and it'll be clear. So, good deal. You got a final thought, good joke, word of wisdom?
Think I'm well met.
Okay, well then, thank you so much, my brother, and thank you, Edwin, thank you, Moa, thank you, Tori, thank you, Angel, all our friends, and thank you for tuning in wherever you are, whenever you listen. Please join us again tomorrow, Thursday, live here on TikTok at Conversations with Evan. I'm Evan, he's Alex, and we, all of us, are the Faceless Many. So, my friends, until next time, rise up.